So yeah, the Fuji X-M5 has been officially been announced, and now Fuji is proudly competing with smartphones. Brilliant! Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thomas Love here from Leica Italia, and today we're gonna talk about this newly announced Fuji X-M5 that I don't know who was expecting it to be released, but probably it was gonna do and make a few people happy because it's an alternative far cheaper than the Panasonic S9. It's an alternative to the Panasonic S9 that was targeting vloggers and young guys, and now the accent has been put on a few capabilities that are required if you want to TikTok, such as the 6K open gate so you can shoot vertical videos. Not so much for vlogging, despite the kit lens has an optical stabe to be matched to the digital stabe. This one has an horseshoe, this one has a notch shoe while the Panasonic didn't, and a few other things that might be please the young generations, because this is clearly not a professional camera. It's not intended for professional use, but I have to say it can do plenty of things and quite well. It has a 24 megapixel APSc sensor, the same sensor that had the Fuji X100V or X105. That was a success, everybody wanted it, it was sold out for ages, and the latest processor, so the same one that manages the 40 megapixel X-trans sensor. And so what does this camera add to the Fuji line? Not so much, because it's an entry-level camera with no EVF, with no IBIS, but it can do almost everything, and it can do it quite good. Now it really depends on what glass you're going to match it with, but if you want to go vlogging like I'm doing right now, you can do it. It has 3 microphones that ideally it's not a directional boom mic, but it kinda is, and then it has this optical stabe within the lens plus the digital stabe that I didn't have the chance to try because it was only announced, only pre-production units are circulating right now, so I didn't have the chance to compare and see if the stabe is good enough, especially compared to the stabe in other devices such as the Pixel phones, the Sony cameras, and the DJI action cam. So this is competing with that because they're all doing the same things and because the price is basically the same. So I was making some irony, I was making some jokes about it competing with smartphones, but it really is, because it costs as much as an iPhone, and lately the content creators, here is how you want to call them, starting using iPhones to create their contents because they can shoot log, because it has a stabe despite a super teeny tiny sensor. But if you can shoot log, LUT, if it has the stabe, if it can record 4K, and if it can take photos, well, basically it's competing with many other devices. I was mentioning the iPhones, the DJI, the Fuji, the Google Pixel, all devices that are good enough for a non-professional use. Now, myself, I'm a bit spoiled because I'm using a full frame, because I'm spoiled by image quality, and I always want to have the best available, not the most expensive things, but at least if I'm looking for a solution, I want it to perform. And so I'm using a Sony at the moment, which is not as compact as the Fuji. The Fuji is smaller, like 35% smaller compared to the Panasonic S9, which is already a compact body, very comparable to the Sony A7C Mark II that I'm using at the moment. And so this camera can please because it's really pocketable. It's the real EDC. It's an everyday carry. You really can put it and place it in your pockets if you're not pretentious about the results. And then the body of the camera is of course that compact, but the lens is not. So the kit lens, which is a 15 to 45, it's not so fast and it's not so small because it has the optical stabe inside. So all in all, the package, it's not so compact, so it's losing already against the smartphones. But the image quality is definitely better because smartphones have this teeny tiny sensor, while this one is an APSc camera with all the experience that Fuji got. Now, big question marks, because on paper this is a very valid product. On paper this is a product that can help content creators, but there's this huge question mark because Fuji, they never fixed the autofocusing. You know, they are having some troubles with autofocusing, especially after they updated the software in their cameras, and so this thing is not solved yet. And then the stabe, Fuji, it's not so famous for the stabe. So on that, the Panasonic S9 does a fair better job. Another question mark that I have is, since this Fuji X-M5 needs to have a digital stabe, how much is the crop factor? Is it cropping in 10% such as my Sony is doing, or is it cropping in 50% like the Panasonic? So all these things add on, but for $800-900 I don't think you can ask much more. And so guys, either you go for a Nokia dumb phone, the bar one with super lasting battery and a Fuji, or you take a Google Pixel or a smartphone or an Apple or an iPhone, and then you do everything with that thing. Or third choice, which is my favorite, you go for a dummy cheap smartphone such as my Motorola, so in case you need an additional 4K recording, you have it, but then you go for a full frame camera with stabe, with AF, which is reliable, and you can pick up the glass that you want. So with that, guys, I really don't know what the future for this Fuji will be, because we were all hoping it to step up and finally compete and produce cameras for professional use, but that was not the case. So they stayed within the limits of their current offering. They shrinked it down, but now it's competing against smartphones. So with that, I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, please remember to like it, share it on your social media, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the new videos to come, and I guess I will see you later. And please let me know if you are placing already some money for the reservation of this Fuji and what is the intended use that you want to have out of it. Thank you. Bye bye.